Well, there's a quote that Dio told to Dave Mustaine one time, and it was, well, you know, we can jerk each other off all day, or we can smoke this joint.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doomtombpodcast, the podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. My name is Chris. I am your host. Today we have Chad Davis from the band Agrabatti and so many other bands. Check the show notes. You'll figure it out as we go. You never know what he's going to be up to next. Here is the interview with Chad from Agrabatti. Okay, so here's the thing. So I'm on Instagram. I got this gentleman that liked a post, and we started this kind of dialogue. And as soon as I got to see and listen to some of this material, I was like, holy shit, I am going down a rabbit hole with this guy. And I have him on Skype right now. This is Chad. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Got my coffee. I'm good.
And the project that I'm talking about is Agrabatti. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So before we got on mic, you mentioned that there might have been something it actually meant something, but the word got changed. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, Agrabatti is basically if you pick up any box of incense that's Satya or any other brand, it's going to say Agrabatti on the bottom. That's basically the actual term for incense. But I just 11 years ago, when this whole project started, I was making a logo for it, and I was just really into it, listening to good music, stoned as hell. Fucked up the logo, spelt it wrong, and it just kind of stuck. So it's kind of like whatever, it's all good.
Okay, so right now I've got, and I'm going like old school psychedelic. I got my Nag Champa Patchouli blend here. Do you have your Nag Champa, or do you have any incense burner right now?
Yeah, I'm running the Satya Natural at the moment.
Very natural.
Smells like a good stick of wood burning, so it's nice.
Very nice. Now, yeah. There's this thing, and I'm just going to get it out. I have a question from the previous band that I interviewed, and I wanted to ask you if you have a question. We could ask the next band, and this is an interesting question because usually it'll be something, kind of like what's a favorite pizza topping or worst tour story or something. This is a very interesting question, and maybe you can help me with this. What is the ideal length of time to be on the road when you have a full-time job?
Well, I've done this a couple times. 2 weeks was the max that I've done in the United States. At all, it doesn't really matter. Most of the time, if I've played overseas, then it's kind of like you fly over, you play a show, you hang out the next day, or maybe you fly over, rehearse with people, play a show, hang out the next day, come home. We toured the Hour of 13 Days back in 2013. We toured with Kyle Essa, and it was kind of like a B city tour.
Right.
2 weeks, probably the most pointless thing that I've ever done. It was just, I love Kyle Essa. Laura is absolutely fantastic. I love her to death. But it was really kind of grueling, not really something that I had planned on ever doing again.
Really?
So I would say probably 2 weeks. I mean, but it really depends on I guess, how well off you're set. I just don't understand, like in this genre of music, I know it's still very, very underground, but I just don't understand these cats that go on tour for 3 and 4 months at a time. I'm like, how the fuck do you do it? This doesn't make any sense to me, because I know what it's like playing in the United States. For people playing overseas is absolutely fantastic, but touring the States, man, just everything's so far apart. Doesn't make much sense to me, but maybe that's just, maybe that's my prerogative of the whole entire thing. But yeah, I would say 2 to 3 weeks max. I think, if you don't want to lose your job, don't push it.
It's such a grind, man.
Yeah, it is.
And I think what I'll do is at the end, I'll ask you if you have a question for somebody else. Is that cool?
Sure, sounds great.
Now, I want to just go right into the music because this is the reason I really wanted to talk to you tonight. So I want to go over these tracks now. Now, how long ago did you create this music?
2009, the end of 2008, December of 2008, January of 2009 was around the time that myself and a few of the other guys left U.S. Christmas. The other guys, I guess our bass player and drummer at the time, they wanted to kind of like just chill out for a while because we pushed really hard with U.S. Christmas. And then due to unfortunate circumstances, it just seemed like, this shit just kind of got screwy,
Right.
I've let go of a lot of it, and I'm still in touch with, with the main dude from U.S. Christmas. But there's a lot of bad blood, which kind of sucks, man, because we were beyond family. I mean, it was a great time. It was a great time in my life. Probably some of the most fun I've ever had in a band ever. But the other guys wanted to kind of chill out. And I'm not ever one to chill out. I'm a double Capricorn in my sign, so there's fire, and then there's more fire. So I don't ever really stop. So me and our keyboard player guy Ben at the time, who plays with Saviors ever so often, we were doing a spacey synth stuff that's kind of similar to the Insight stuff,
right.
Ramona Smott, but we were like, all right, cool. Well, let's just have fun. So we did a cover of Ejection, and we did a cover of Watching You by Brain Ticket. Ejection by Rob Calvert, Captain Lockheed and Starfighters. And it was just really fun. It was really fun to be just kind of free and just doing whatever we wanted to do. And then I just started writing all these riffs that turned into the Agrabatti stuff. And it was just really cool. It kind of continued a spirit of what was happening in U.S. Christmas. The music was absolutely different. Right. U.S. Christmas heavy, but it was heavy in its own way. We sounded like our environment. We sounded like the mountains. The Agrabatti stuff sounded like the house I was in. It was constantly full of incense smoke, constantly full of, weed smoke, just whatever was going on in that house. That music was like a product of that house, which, I miss terribly. But, 11 years ago, that's when it all started, and it was cool. It was a wild ride.
It sounded like you were like straight in outer space from this release.
Yeah.
I absolutely it's so crazy, from the first track. And I want to start off with Beyond the Sun. I was immediately hooked by this. I really got such a charge out of this because, stoner doom genre, plenty of bands and plenty of people trying to sound like other people. And then here you come with this, this killer heavy psych that it just sparked my interest. Could you tell me a little bit about Beyond the Sun and how that was created?
Beyond the Sun started the second part of the song where it kind of kicks in and gets really driving. That was written before the beginning of the song. The slower parts, the more just the heavier section. I mean, it's all heavy shit. I don't know, just the beginning of it, because when people hear this, they'll hear how there's this one beginning part and then it pauses and then it kind of gets into something that's a bit more moving, or up tempo, I should say, not moving, whatever. But that section was written before the beginning. The beginning track, or the beginning part, was written probably 2 months after the other part, and then I couldn't really figure out where else to take the beginning. And then one day Ben was like, "Why don't you just take this other section and put it after this part?" And I was like, "All right, cool." And that happened. That's where it was.
Awesome.
This tune it wasn't anything that actually got properly recorded. There's a couple tunes that aren't on this release. There's still more of the Agrabatti stuff that hasn't been re-recorded yet. I actually today at my work, I did 2 other drum tracks to kind of get more of this stuff done.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. But I just felt like the first four originals, and then the cover, which we'll talk about in a minute, they just all fit like this weird linear movement. You know, it's like they all meant to like go together in one thing. You know, so Absolutely. That's why I didn't put any more. That's why I didn't put any more songs on this album. You know,
I gotcha. And can we go into Quaalude Runner?
Yeah. Yeah. So that song is about this dude, Brian, that I used to know that stole a bunch of drugs. And he came over to my house with him. And, you know, like the lyrics are kind of like things I was saying to him, you know. I was like, dude, you know, they know your name. When they find you, it's Goodbyesville. You know, you're gone, you know.
Right.
But he got arrested before they ever caught up with him. So, you know.
Oh, jeez.
When you live in North Carolina and you have absolutely nothing to do, you know, anybody that's, you know, the whole a friend with weed is a friend indeed type thing, you know, really, if you had anything else, you were a better friend. So, yeah.
Now, were you in more the mountainous region of North Carolina? Like,
yeah, I was in Granite Falls, which is actually like the whole Hickory area, which is the base of the Appalachian Mountains.
Yes.
If you were to go northwest, you would go towards Boone, which borders Tennessee.
I know Boone. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go towards, I guess if you go even more straight west, then you go towards Asheville, you know, which is right at Tennessee as well, you know. So
absolutely. And it's come up on a previous podcast. And I don't know if if you're a documentary fan, but there's something called The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. And there's a lot of that Appalachian kind of weirdness. I remember even Saturday Night Live did a thing called like something like, you know, Appalachian Emergency Room or something, where it's just a continuous amount of just strange stuff. Was that? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Was that a reason why you're not there now?
No. We just got I left North Carolina in 2014 because I met my better half. This is the other guys from U.S. Christmas. We formed a band called Tasha Yar. And we played a show with Dead Meadow in Richmond, Virginia.
Nice.
And that's where I met my lady. And then we just, you know, we friended each other on Facebook, whatever, blah, blah, blah. 3 months later, you know, we started hanging out, but, I just said, we're out here, just by sheer happenstance. You know, we came out here to take care of her grandmother and all that stuff. So, yeah.
And then, like you never know where the road takes you. And, and now you're there. What can you tell me about High Flyer?
High Flyer was one of the original Agrabatti songs. What originally started off as like a Noi tribute turned into just like this crazy, you know, just flying through space anthem type thing, you know, right. Just kind of, you know, the lyrics I actually just wrote whenever I started doing all this stuff. I mean, the lyrics are really just a bunch of gibberish thrown together that actually sounds pretty cool. You know, there's no real big.
It works.
You know, there's no real big like. You know, you're just kind of like becoming one with the cosmos, like flying with the comets, whatever. You know, it's you know, it's just all mental shit. You know, stuff I see in my head. You know, just trying to like write lyrics to replicate that.
And I like the way you positioned it.
More times or not works, yeah, so, you know.
Right. I love the way you positioned it because you have High Flyer before one of, I think, is probably one of the most underrated bands. They don't get enough credit. And that is a cover of Born to Go by Hawkwind.
Yep.
I mean, what? Okay, so off mic, I had told you about this. There's a band in Phoenix, Arizona called Stonewitch, and the bassist Ian, he had a few questions for you about this Hawkwind cover. First off, Why did you choose this cover?
We used to cover it in Mountain of Judgment, and I actually did it more on this record as a tribute to the drummer Dave Easter, who was one of my best friends of all time.
Right.
dude is an absolute stellar person. So I lived in Buffalo from 2002 to 2003. Whenever I came back in 2003 to North Carolina, we started Mountain of Judgment. And just Dave and I formed like a really strong bond. He was the live Hour 13 drummer for the United States shows.
Right.
And he's just one of my best friends. And we initially just bonded over Hawkwind, and just both of our choices of Hawkwind tunes, ranking them, Born to Go was always number one. It's like, to me, it's like the greatest Hawkwind song ever written. Sure, they have, albums that are just phenomenal, but just that one song, being that it never had a studio recording, that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do it. Not that, my version is better than anything else, but it was just what I felt like it would have sounded like if it had been recorded in a studio. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we used to do like a medley of Master of the Universe, and then from Master of the Universe segue into Born to Go.
Wow, so, that is the perfect tie-in, because Ian asked me, he says, why wasn't the cover Master of the Universe? So it's perfect. Master of the Universe had been done by U.S. Christmas on the Hawkwind Triad that was released on records. So we had already been done. We did on that compilation, or on that tribute, we did Master of the Universe, we did Psychedelic Warlords, we did Orgone Accumulator, and You Shouldn't Do That. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do it again, so I almost did, but I was kind of like, what? If I'm going to do something else, it was probably going to be like another cover off maybe the first record, which I think is kind of like underrated as well.
And that's funny you say that, because that was the other track that he asked about, Orgone Accumulator. So why not?
Because we already did it in U.S. Christmas and it had already been done, so I just didn't really want to. That had already been recorded. Mountain of Judgment never got to record our versions, and being that Dave is all the way across the United States and North Carolina, I just wanted to do it more as a tribute to him and my friendship with him. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
I love that. And I talked with somebody last night in the band Horseburner, and there's something about this scene. It is still underground, and it is. People are coming together. I know there's some bands, because of everything that's going on right now in the world, basically. That some people are stranded overseas, and you got to help them out. And it's nice when I see the whole community coming together. It really shows a solidarity that is the reason why I like to cover this stuff,
Yes, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about Return to Freedom Rock.
Yeah, Return to Freedom Rock is one of the tunes that we used to do in Mountain of Judgment live. We had attempted a couple times to record it as a studio song. Right. Just never seemed to pan out. It was either my guitar sounded fucked up, or just we were all just too fucked up to do anything. So it just never really panned out. But that was actually the first tune that was written for Agrabatti, and it just felt like it should have been on the record. And once again, once I got all these tunes recorded, it was just weird how like the way they were placed, was kind of happenstance as well, and it just all flowed together.
Right.
And it's a good tune. Return to Freedom Rock is another one of those tunes where the lyrics are just about like not being able to find weed in North Carolina on a Friday night, which was kind of hard, because it's not at that time, at that point in time, 2000, 2009, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but back then it was really hard to find anything, unless you were in shitty parts.
It's become a lot easier now.
Yeah. Especially whenever I moved out here, I was really, when I moved out here, I was 40. So I'm 48 now. I was 46 when I got out here, and I just thought it was bizarre as fuck that I could just like get on the internet and order bud straight delivered to my door. It's like, what? This is bizarre.
It's everything. It's either that or I talked with a band called Lagoon last night, and I just went online to see not so much the mushrooms, but truffles, magic truffles.
Right.
You can just buy them online. It's like no big deal.
Yeah.
It's incredible the difference. Now, the question about this last song is, and I might be reaching. I remember years ago, I used to see this television commercial, and it was about this like group of songs that were like kind of 70s songs, and it was called Freedom Reich. Is this a nod to that, or absolutely not?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of could have been. I mean, when me and Ben were joking around about like song titles and stuff, Ben was like, "Why not just call it Freedom Rock?" Because that middle part sounds like like you're trying to like break free and just fly away. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess so, man. That's cool. Yeah, it works. So it just kind of stuck.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
Now you had the artwork done by ZZ Corpse.
Yes.
Were you asking for something specific, or did you just like give him some parameters and say go?
No, I was like, man, I sent him a couple of the tunes. I sent him Beyond the Sun and Freedom and Return to Freedom Rock. And it's like, dude, this is what the stuff sounds like. Have at it. And then whenever I recorded the rest of the tunes, because those first were done first, and then Quaalude and High Flyer and Born to Go were done later. Then I sent him the rest, and just a couple of days ago, he's like, hey, this is what I got. This is what I did. I'm like, wonderful. Absolutely. Perfect. Yeah, it's great.
It really does encapsulate, because it's so minimal, and it encapsulates exactly what I think the sound is, and it's just it's this outer space journey that I just absolutely love, man.
Killer.
Ian also was very curious from the band Stonewitch about the writing, performance, production. Is that all you, or is that an amalgamation of other people, or?
No, it's just me. Yep.
Really?
It's just me. Yeah. I did the drums first, and then do the guitars, and then the bass, and the leads, then the vocals, then the spacey stuff, the UFOs, and then mix it down and listen to it and be like, oh, that sucks, and then go back and remix it, and then do that about 20 times, and be like, all right, that's cool, Yeah, not really. I mean, it doesn't take that long, but I mean, it's just whenever I was living in North Carolina, and a lot of the guys, everybody just kind of, I don't want to really say fell out, because we didn't have a falling out. It's just sometimes, we're all like I'm a dad of 4 years. This stuff was written 11 years ago. Right. Other people were already kind of busy or doing their life, which was cool, which was totally fine. Just me being double Capricorn, I work all the time, and sometimes that makes it very hard for people to be in a band with me. So therefore, most of the time I find myself doing my own shit, which is, like Sabbathian is me doing all the music, and Annette from, who is in Norway doing the vocals. Hour of 13 at that point was me doing all the music, and then Phil Swanson from Connecticut doing the vocals. But it was easier for me just to go ahead and get all the ideas out, so I didn't have to wait on anybody. And it's not that I'm an impatient person. It's just, trying to get ideas and not let them become by the wayside. It's like, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. If this stuff ever gets played live, then I can just show it to them. They can add their own flavors, play it the way they want to play it.
Right.
I'm just going to go ahead and, record these tunes the way they are in my head. And so now being out here, I mean, I go to work and I chill out with my kid, and my lady, and that's all I do. I've kind of gotten the itch to get in bands out here now that the Agrabatti stuff is coming around. There's some dudes at my work that are jamming together in a band, and they've said that they would back me up at any time.
Right.
So that works out pretty well. There's not a thing of like, well, yeah, we'll back you up, but, we want to do our own thing, and it's like, well, that's what I want you to do. I want you to do your stuff around this if it ever comes to that point. But me being able to do everything, the point I'm trying to get at is like all these long-winded fucking tantrums, I don't know, but the whole point is I can do it myself, so I do it myself. It's fuck it, it's whatever.
I completely understand. There was a band, actually, after we're done with this interview, I'm going to be putting up another interview tonight, and it's this guy Josh of Secrets of Lost Empires. You would think that there's this big band, and really it's just him. And you know, if you can find the right people, fantastic. If you can't, do as much as you can yourself. There's excuse me, there's another band that I'll be putting an episode out not in not too distant future called Hovenweep. And some of the guys, they're like, look, I looked 5 years to find the people I wanted to play with. And I almost just stopped playing completely because I just couldn't find what I wanted and people that were sharing the vision. And if you just have a vision and you just do it yourself, basically.
Because sometimes, I mean, you know, you can sit around and you can wait. And you can wait to find people. But I mean, if you have the means to be able to do it yourself, I mean, like, you know, all of my stuff is here. You know, this is my recording rack. My console is right here. So I just can't do drums here because, you know, in suburban California, you know, these houses are like sardines here. So I just cut all my drum tracks at work and then, you know, bring them back here and then do them here. So
that is incredible.
Yeah, it's like, but I have to, you know, the way I record my drums is just with like one solitary microphone that looks like this thing right here. You know, it's a stereo.
That's a Zoom mic. I have this, dude. Wait a minute, hold on a second. I don't know if you can see this. I got it right here.
Oh yeah, H4. Yeah.
Except I don't know if you can see this. Apparently that one up top, that's made of plastic and that drops. And it breaks really easy. I haven't had that happen yet, but being that I carry this thing back and forth to work, I'm sure it's going to happen one day. But it's a good thing because I can just buy this thing at my work. So I'll just get another one next bit. If I was a smart man, I'd keep it in a case, but you know, not that bad.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. The case that comes with it, I think it's full of pins. I don't know why, but yeah, I just put like ballpoint pens. I didn't have any place to put them, so I was like, shit, this holds pins great. So I think there's some Sharpies in there too.
It works perfect. So. Okay, this was the last question that Ian had. Will you be doing any other work with this band, you know, or this project? And will you be doing any other Hawkwind covers?
Yeah, and probably. This isn't now that I've gotten this stuff recorded and I just hear, you know, what it has turned into from what it was. What I really want to do is to somehow find the original. I've got all the original songs on all the original mixes, like without vocals, on a hard drive.
Right.
And I really want to take those at some point down the line, and being that they were already done, I just want to put vocals over top of them and just see what it sounds like, you know.
Sure.
Kind of how like Dark Throne did with the Goat Ward stuff, you know. It was like something that they recorded after, what was it, Blazes of Northern Sky, and then 10 years later they just put these silly vocals over it to put it out, which made no sense to me. But yeah, I mean, I've got tons of riffs and tons of other ideas for more tunes. You know, I go through the process of weeding out old projects that I don't really do anymore,
right?
And fill them with new ones or old ones, old new ones, whatever. You know, so this is something that I want to. This is something that I want to keep going because I feel it's real. You know, even though there's a lot of people that do a lot of heavy psych stuff and like space rock and stuff, I just don't really feel like it sounds like anything else out there. I think it's a little bit different. You know.
I could see that. Look, and that's straight up. That's the reason why I wanted to talk to you tonight.
Right on.
No joke. So, do you plan on getting a band together to tour for this material? I mean, if it feasibly pans out to be able to do so, then yeah. I mean, that would be cool. But I just don't know. You know, and feasibly do it means, you know, being able to do it and not have to, like, I lost $800 on the Hour 13 Kylesa tour. So, you know, that's what I had to pay out of my pocket just to exist on that tour. And so, that ain't bad.
No, but I would definitely not like to have to do that again.
No. So it's a very hard process. You know, it's like, even, we just did a festival, 3 days, 23 bands, and I was doing it with this guy Kyle from Old Fashioned Assassin, and everybody that was that I was talking to saying, be lucky if you can make money at this.
Right.
You might lose a lot. And I even talked to somebody that had a festival in Arizona for 6 years, and told me straight up, he says, I never made a dime.
Yeah.
And you know what? We did okay. And
cool.
we actually plan one for next year. I'm just going to throw it out there right now while I'm talking to you.
Sure.
You're open. I'd love to have you. And I know I'm stretching right now, but if you got something together, and I'm not putting pressure on you, but if you got something together,
sure.
Hey, dude, you're more than welcome to come over to Tempe, Arizona, Yucca Tap Room, and we'll set that town afire.
Sounds good, man. I think it could definitely be a possibility, and we'll keep in touch about that for sure.
Absolutely. Now, if you can, I'd like to talk a little about U.S. Christmas. Now, you were a part of it at Eat the Low Dogs, correct?
Yes, we recorded that in my house. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I know I want to talk about your I guess you could say your most current release, but what are your most favorite tracks on that release?
Probably every one of them, because it was just such a. We recorded that record in January, and if anybody's ever been in North Carolina in January, it's freezing cold.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we had a fire going in my living room. We had all the stuff set up in my living room, and we just recorded. I think all of the music was done in a day. Vocals were done later. Yeah, the vocals were done a little bit later. We used to rehearse 4 times a week. We jammed 4 times a week, and it was all. Yeah, we were very busy. A very busy band. Whenever I was in U.S. Christmas, I was still doing my own stuff, but that band took up a lot of time, which didn't matter to me, because it was absolutely amazing. It's there were. Whenever I joined, there were 5 guys in the band, including me. Whenever I switched to guitar, we got Ben, became 6 people. And then we decided that we needed a second electronics guy. So we got our buddy Tom, which turned into a 7-man band, And then a lot of times whenever we played shows, sometimes just other people would randomly join us on stage just to make crazy ass noises. So whenever we're playing, when we're playing in clubs, it made it kind of weird. It made it kind of hard to get on a stage. But yeah, Eat the Low Dogs, man, that was a good time. We had at that point we had a really great rehearsal space that was in an old studio, and our rehearsal spot was probably I'm not shitting. It was a black room that was a main tracking room for an old recording studio that had shut down, and that room was probably. It felt like, I swear, I think it was 80 feet by 80 feet. It was massive.
Wow.
And we just had all the room that we needed, and we always cut all the lights off. We had a projector going with, generally we were either watching, it was like a Cosmos DVD, or it was just all of these exploration things that we had found on YouTube that we just edited into a DVD, and we would play it while we rehearsed.
Right.
We did that 4 days a week, and it was fucking cosmic. It was great.
So by the time you get in the studio, it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, but we knew everybody knew exactly what to do. We didn't have to stop. I threw a guitar down a time or two, but that wasn't because I was fucking up. But it was just we didn't have to take many takes at all. There were never any overdubs that needed to be done unless it was like a guitar lead from somebody else that needed to happen. But yeah, that whole record was. That music was done. I think the full band stuff was done in one day. Some of the overdubs were done that night, and then 2 days later the vocals were done. It didn't take long to record that record at all. We were bone tight. It's nuts.
You were ready, and that's incredible. It's one of those things. You hear it sometimes from some bands that whatever, it doesn't matter, whether it's Hendrix, the Beatles, whatever, where they just, it's one of those things that came together in just a few minutes, and boom, and it was done, and it's become this thing that's been popular for 50 plus years. Such an incredible thing. If I can ask, well, obviously, I just wanted to say, U.S. Christmas, Scalp Hunters.
Yes.
Oh, man, dude.
It's fantastic. Yeah, that was our opening track. We always open with that tune.
Love it. It's the track that, and we were kind of talking on social media a little bit or texting back and forth, and Scalp Hunters. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, that's what they got going on. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's crazy like that. Like the U.S. Christmas was like an absolute, like, you always see the like the documentaries and people are talking about like Black Sabbath, Birmingham, England at that time. They were a product. They were a sound of what they sounded like their environment.
Exactly.
Like if anybody was to ever come to Marion, North Carolina, and like if we would, like sometimes when we got to rehearsal, we would just go on a ride because it was in the mountains. So we would go ride through the mountains and we'd go back and rehearse.
Right.
And, if somebody was to like be listening to U.S. Christmas going through Marion, North Carolina, it would totally just be like a revelation of like, holy shit, this sounds exactly like this area. Like this is what this area sounds like,
That is
because
so cool.
Most of the people that were there were just spaced out because they were just weirdos. So, that's where the spaciness comes from. But just the sound of the music, just the woodiness of the music that's what we sounded like there. That's what it was. It was like, fucking folk space rock to a certain extent. You know what I mean?
And that's absolutely correct. It's like I've asked people, due to where they live, does it affect the sound? And for that, it's like absolutely. Now, this other project that you had, the Sabbathian. Holy smokes, man! You got Joey Downs. You got from Altar Blood. You got, is it Annette Gulbranson?
Gulbranson, yeah.
Wow, what an incredible voice.
Yeah.
She's doing some alto stuff. She's doing some soprano stuff. I've noticed that some of the stuff that she's done, borders on the line of like power metal, epic black metal kind of stuff. And here you come with more this slower, like this doomy vibe. How did that all get? How did that come about?
So when we talk about Hour 13 and the whole thing about Earache Records comes up, there was a point in time where, due to me being done the way a lot of other bands have been done on Earache, I kind of defuncted Hour 13 for a hot minute,
right?
And so on the first Sabbathian record, the Ritual Rites, that was all stuff that was going to be Hour 13 music, except for the song Ritual Rites, which partly was written by Joey.
Right.
All of that stuff was supposed to have been Hour 13 music. Originally, whenever I started the Sabbathian, Jess from Jess and the Ancient Ones was going to be the vocalist. They were really starting to take off, and she didn't feel comfortable juggling two different things. She didn't want to put efforts in another project and have that take away from Jess and the Ancient Ones. Right. So I was like, that's cool, and I was friends with. Through Hour 13, I got to be friends with some dudes in a band called Devil from Norway, and Stian Fossum. He was like, "Hey, dude, I know this girl Annette. She's fantastic. Let me hook you guys up." And I sent her some music, and she's like, "Okay, let me try." And she wrote some. I had already written the lyrics for that because I knew Jess was busy, so I just went ahead and wrote lyrics. Sent them to Annette. She put them down over the thing. Smart Records was like, "We want to release this EP," and that's how it started. So.
Wow, it is it's incredible music. I love hearing that, and every once in a while you hear stuff in the genre that you're like, this sounds like this, and whether it's this release that we're talking about or the Sabbathian, I mean, I just love the fact that where there's something a little different, like even like the band Church, CHRCH, the vocal, female vocal, and it's just a little bit different. Ruby the Hatchet, just a little bit different. Holy Grove, same thing. They have a female vocalist, and it's just it brings a different element. It brings some excitement to something that you don't. I want to say you just don't normally see. You know?
Yep. Annette has a certain way of, I guess, her being like a trained choir singer. You know, she
absolutely.
She's able to do a lot of things that maybe some other people can't do or won't try or what. I don't really know how to put it. You know,
it's symphonic, is what it is.
Oh, yeah, she's a great, absolutely phenomenal vocalist. And she doesn't give herself enough credit.
Now, is she doing anything currently? Because I checked out on Bandcamp, haven't seen anything for a few years. Is she still doing projects or?
She just she did some backup vocals for her friend Liv Christine, she did a vocal track. They did a duet on the most recent Sabbathian album, Latum Alterum. But she played with her live. I guess they're going to do some more shows here pretty soon. As far as her playing in other bands, I know she's talked about doing some stuff with some cats in Norway. I don't know if she has.
Right.
I don't know if she still is going to. I know she's in the middle of moving right now, so she has a plethora of new Sabbathian tunes to do vocals to. So as soon as she gets into her spot, she's going to start working on that so we can get our third record done, which is totally different from the one that we just put out, which is totally different from our first album. Yeah. So the next record, where the Latum Alterum album is very plotting, very dark, very almost kind of like borders on like black metal almost, according to some people. I don't really hear it that much, but sometimes I do. Okay. Sometimes I don't. Maybe just because it's very plotting, some for lack of a better term, some fucking like Burzum-esque riffing, because it's very repetitive and it doesn't really change much, but it's just like super cold. The next record is very rooted in 80s sound, like
new wave of British heavy metal, or
if the new wave of British heavy metal was sitting on the LA Strip, then yeah, it's very different.
And you're working on that right now?
The music is already done. She has the music. She has the music doing she's currently writing lyrics and getting vocal ideas down to send back and forth. So
I'm looking forward to hearing some of that. That is
it's pretty wild.
That's where I grew up, so that's what I know. And right. I'm very excited to hear that.
It would be kind of like if you mix like Wrathchild UK with
really,
maybe some form of, I don't know, Jag Panzer or some shit. I don't know. It's just different. It's different music. It's very reminiscent of things, but it's not like it's not like a, it's its own thing as much as I like to try and do things. So it's very different.
First reference to Jag Panzer on this podcast, my friend. Bravo. So Hour of 13.
Yes.
What can you tell me about that? And is that a complete done thing, or do you think you go back to that, or?
No, yeah, it's still. I've got a full record recorded. Tim from Shadow Kingdom he's probably pulled out most of his hair because this thing should have been done 2 years ago. But it's like I get busy doing things and then I do other things, and he's like, "Man, you're crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So, but it just has to be right because Hour 13 has been like such a big part of my life, and it's basically what really put me in the running of it got me out there, I guess. I don't know if it's just some stuff. 2007, bought a new guitar, the new amp, was sitting around, started writing all these riffs. I'm like, holy shit, this sounds pretty good. Buddy of mine owned a studio in North Carolina, so I went in there and recorded three tracks. Bass player at the time that played with me on the record, he was like, "Yeah, I don't really want to do this. This music's it's a little bit too dark for me or whatever." I'm like, "All right, that's fine. It's cool."
Fair enough.
So I went back and redid the bass tracks, and then sent the tunes. What did I do? Then I recorded 5 other tunes, and it was one of these days when U.S. Christmas, we're riding around taking some photos for actually Eat the Low Dogs. Right. and taking some band photos. There was a guy, Chris Thomas, was in the van with us, and Matt, one of the guys from US Christmas, he's like, let's listen to that music you recorded, and we started playing it. And Chris was like, man, if I could find this guy, I knew somebody that would be perfect for the vocals on this. His name's Phil Swanson. We used to hang out and get really fucked up together in Texas. The next day, which is the craziest thing, like Chris didn't know where he was, but I had these tunes up on MySpace, and I shit you not, the next day I got a message from Phil Swanson in my inbox that said, damn, this music would sound killer with vocals. Can't wait to hear what it sounds like.
Nice.
And I sent Phil a message. I'm like, dude, this is really crazy. Chris Thomas just told me about a dude named Phil Swanson. Are you that Phil Swanson? And he sent me a message back. He's like, I know who Chris Thomas is, but I have not talked to him in 15 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it was just like, wow. It was like beyond cosmic. So I sent him all the tunes. He came down from Connecticut to record in the studio.
Right.
And we sent Shadow Kingdom one song, and which was called Satan, and Tim's like, I want it. Let's put it out. So, and then that kind of got us where it went. You know, it's wild.
Thank you for the internet. Thank you for MySpace, Facebook, whatever it is.
Exactly.
We there's so many connections that can be made.
Yep.
If I can ask you just quickly about the last band I wanted to talk about was Mountain of Judgment.
Yes.
We got some heavy stoner doom there.
Yeah.
Is there anything coming up, a future project or?
Yeah, not really. I mean, being that Dave is all the way across the states, you know, I wouldn't feel very comfortable. I wouldn't feel very well doing anything under the Mountain of Judgment name, you know.
Fair enough.
It was something, you know, whenever I first came back, like I said, when I first came back from Buffalo, New York, Dave and I just started hanging out a lot, and we just started jamming on this stuff. I had bought a bunch of orange amplifiers and, you know, had like way too much stuff in a room, and had a drum kit in there. And I was like, dude, I got some riffs, you know, let's get stoned, play some music, you know, whatever.
Sure.
And then, you know, I had this band a long time ago in the 90s, 7 Foot Spleen, our bass player, Scott. I forget how in the hell he even showed up there, but somehow Scott got over to the house, and he's like, shit, I'm going to go home and get my bass. So he like back and forth an hour and 10 minutes to go get his stuff and come back. And then we sat up there and recorded our first demo, basically.
Right.
You know, and then it was really hard at that point, you know, in that point in time, 2003, the scene hadn't really exploded yet. So there wasn't a whole lot of people that were really into that kind of stuff. You know, you had like people that were really into the electric, you know, like the Electric Wizard stuff.
Sure.
The sleep
Orange
stuff.
Goblin and
Orange Goblin and all this stuff. So people were like really into more like, you know, the rockin' stuff. I guess as far as the slowness goes, like Electric Wizard was probably like the slowest thing, unless you want to pull up a band like Grief, you know. So, you know, Grief were like super slow, but that was more of like the sludgy, you know, end of stuff. Which is kind of funny because my old band, the band from the 90s, 7 Foot Spleen, we toured with Grief twice. And that's some of the most funniest crap. That's all of those stories are for a whole nother 10 hours of talking, but which is fantastic.
Another day.
Yeah. But you know, we couldn't really get much footing with Mountain of Judgment other than just playing around our area, which we did quite a bit. You know, not a lot of people wanted us to play anywhere because, you know, we you know, I used 2 orange stacks with, you know, a head for each cabinet, and our bass player Scott had you know, 2 8-10 cabs with 2 412s and a head for each, you know, so nobody really wanted to book us because we wouldn't play with anything less, you know. we wanted to be loud. It was the whole point of the music, you know. We wanted it to be heavy. So but then the whole thing with Rage came around, the record label that put out the disc, you know, they were just like, you know, they had already done Salt the Wound for US Christmas,
right?
And I sent Igor the Mountain of Judgment tunes, and he's like, you know, I wish I'd have heard this 10 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I wish you would have too.
Nice.
Know, so, but he wound up putting it out. And, you know, now it's, I don't know if it'll ever get reissued or not. I mean, I would love to see it on a record at some point, but if it doesn't, the people that have the record and the people that have heard the music, that's who needed to hear it. Maybe other times people will find it and hear it. It's kind of like one of those bands where like, I don't really, being that not everybody can be involved, it's not something that is really going to be pushed. Gotcha. I think I sent you Mover, which was on a North Carolina music compilation, and then that Return Cosmic, which was our last jam before I left North Carolina. That Return Cosmic is just very definitive of everything that we were ever about. And so to me, if those tunes were to ever be released on something, I would be completely flabbergasted. I'd love it. So, but until then, if people want to hear it, they can drop me an email and I'll send it to them. I don't care.
I know we've got some stuff on YouTube, but I mean, is there any chance you might put it on Bandcamp?
Yeah, I could. I was going to put the CD on Bandcamp and then realized that Rage already had it up. So, but I may see if I can siphon through some of my hard drives to see if any of the other demos are up there that haven't been heard yet. But if not, then I'll just probably throw a couple tunes up and call it a day.
It needs to be heard, man, because it's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I've just been listening to you. It's weird. I've been going down the Chad rabbit hole, and just hearing all of this, and even of Subklinik. I was really loving that material, and it's atmospheric, and it's a completely different head, so to speak, and it's just really outside the box. And I don't want to say soundtrack, but it's a soundtrack for something. I don't know what it is, like going into somewhere. So I've noticed that that's a thing. So what can you tell me about Subklinik?
Subklinik is the thing. Subklinik is the longest running project that I've ever done. I started Subklinik in 1994. So 26 years I've been doing it. Subklinik started as an idea of experimental music. I just wanted to, I was really getting into the Italian experimental music scene.
Sure.
Splendor Geometrico, Marozio Bianchi, just taking like sound and turning it into, or taking objects and turning it into sound. Didn't have to be tonal music. Right. Just something that was like just audio art, something that you could just like paint, just listen to and be like, all right, cool. I can shut my eyes and paint pictures in my mind of like, a void or whatnot. But then in 95, I had a fairly heavy thing. I lost 3 of my family members within 3 months. My mom and my grandmother one day, my dad 3 months later. And so Subklinik became therapy for me because I became an extremely hateful and extremely shut off person. Right. And Subklinik became therapy to be able to get my thoughts, the negativity in my being turned into sound so I could get it out. Because if not, I'd probably either be one dead or locked up in prison, one of the two. And it just kind of stuck. Like I sent some stuff to Marco Corbelli, who ran Slaughter Productions in Italy, which was one of the biggest underground experimental music labels in the world. Yeah. At that time, it was before any of us had internet in North Carolina, so it was all by snail mail. He wrote me back in very broken English. He wanted to release my music, so we started that. Finally, we both got computers that made it a little bit easier. And, there's a lot of stuff, I just had, there's a double record that just came out 2 months ago, a double LP. There's a label in Australia that's getting ready to release, re-release my whole entire discography of Subklinik on 11 CDs. So it's cool. It's a wild ride. A lot of people, and it's kind of crazy because a lot of people listen to it and they're like, man, that's just really fucking negative music, and it's all it's all in the ear of the beholder, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't get that.
Yeah, but I've had people, say like, look, they've sent me messages, and this has been years ago, but I had this one guy send me a message. He's like, you know what? He's like, I was really on the verge of suicide until I listened to the Subklinik material and realized that you can take negativity and turn it into something positive, and it saved my fucking life. And to me, that was like the quintessence of like, all right, cool. I don't need to do anything else in my entire life. You know, it's like if somebody can literally listen to that music and have that music help them, what the fuck, you know, that's great. You know, cool, awesome.
Thank you for that. That's an incredible story. And music is, you know, it's universal, and it does so much for so many people. You never know where it's going to go. You never know what it's going to do for someone. So you did a great thing. You might not even know you were doing it at the time, but
no. I mean, you know, that music to me is just like it's the sound of me like mentally murdering things. You know, that's what, you know, at certain points, you know, because I still think back to those times. You know, I get locked in. You know, sometimes my head gets locked in voids, and I have to do that material to get it out so it passes through my system, and you know, I can become pleasant for, you know, people around me again. You know, that's kind of like this. Like one of the reasons why I started the Insight stuff too. You know, the one of the other projects that I do is it's all like Berlin school style based electronic music. You know, it's all slowly long meditative stuff. You know, and it's funny because like I'll do a Subklinik recording, and then directly after that, and this is a prime example of how this works. So last December, I recorded the Subklinik of Bones and Death record. It was all recorded within 2 days, completely done, all improvised stuff. And then from January of this year of January of last year until March of last year, I recorded 8 Insights full albums. Wow. Yeah, and it's like I've got stuff that's just sitting on hard drives, just waiting, you know, because my buddy Ryan that does anthems for the Undesirable, he put out the Insights 12-inch last year. You know, I don't want to bombard him with a lot of stuff because there's lots of stuff.
You are a prolific man, sir.
Yeah. I just try to be true. You know, I just try to be true to myself. You know, sometimes I'll try and repress it and like not do anything, and then it's just like, you know, an eruption of Vesuvial music.
Well, look, Chad, I appreciate you for what you've done, and I appreciate that you took the time to talk to me so late at night. You know, we're about a little bit under 12, right under midnight, and we're still doing it here.
Yes.
I have just a few quick enders here. Do you have a question to ask the next band?
Let's see. So if I were to ask the band that you're interviewing next, what do they see themselves doing 2 years from now? Because I know how fast bands change, and I know how fast times change, and I know how fast life changes. So I'm kind of curious what they think they will be doing 2 years from now.
Fair enough. And how can everybody find all of this entire catalog of music that you have?
So if you go to what is it? Have fucking Metal Archives, I guess.
Okay.
If you go to Metal Archives and you just look up like say Hour 13, or even if you just type my name in, I mean there's not too many Chad Davises that pop up in Metal Archives, but it's easy to find because it just shows everybody always updates Metal Archive, so you can easily just go there and you can see all the bands that I've been part of and bands that I'm no longer a part of and bands that I might be a part of later. Who knows? It all kind of runs together. Right. But also on Discogs too. Like, you know, if you've heard any of the mentions of the bands here, you can go to Discogs, type it in. Generally Discogs is pretty good with like, you know, being able to link who's in what, where. You can always find me on the Facebooks. I think, I don't really exactly remember because I started up. I shut down Facebook a couple months ago, and then, or about a half a year ago, and then I started it back up recently to re-add some people and to get familiar with a lot of the cats from the South American scene, like you know, Fulanno and you know, Diego from and then like the Mephistopheles guys and the Arteaga and all those dudes. That's like my favorite.
You're right in my zone right now. That is some of the. I don't know what is it about Argentina right now?
I don't know, man. Those dudes have it going on so hard. Fucking that Ambassador band. I just picked up the Ambassador 2 album. It's one of the best things I've heard, but that whole entire scene down there is just like the best things I've heard in a long time. So it really got me, like they got me inspired to like, because I stopped doing this doom rock a long time ago. Like, there was a time where I was just kind of like, fuck it, I'm not doing any of this stuff anymore.
Right.
This scene is just way over infatuated with stuff. The people that have been doing it for a long time and that have been, really consistent at doing shit don't get anything out of it. And I really got jaded, and then I started getting into those dudes, and it just brought it all back. It brought the drive of like realizing what I used to do and how I used to feel about the music that I made, how special it was to me, and they just kind of opened my eyes up to being like, dude, you got to be true to yourself. You got to do your shit, So,
there's something going on over there. I don't know what it is, man, but they're putting out some really quality stuff, really destroying a lot of, the current scene and just sending it on its ear. You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly. Yep. So and you got a band like the Black Furs that's just completely like all over the place, but just absolutely phenomenal. It's like
they're unbelievable right now.
Yeah, I don't know how those dudes do that stuff. And, the Mephistopheles dudes just completely honing in that whole sound to a perfect blend of everything that everybody loves, And Fulanno and Arteaga both just crushing it with their own brand of what they're doing, and Ambassador for being... I don't even know what to say about those guys. Like I talked to Max a couple times, and every time I talk to him, I'm like, dude, I can't tell you how much your band fucking kicks ass. It's like, right. I want to do that every time I talk to you,
Yeah. The same that I want to say about you, Agrabatti, I just loved it, man. And I hope that you continue it somewhere down the line.
Absolutely, it is. Like I was saying, I've got two tracks of drums from old tunes on this guy right here. Getting ready to put them down.
Oh, wait a minute! Wait, hold that up again.
Yeah.
Is yours the same on mine? Like, are there? Oh no, I saw it earlier. Yeah, mine. I'm missing my other keys to it.
It happens.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, after I get off here, it's guitar tracks. So
all right, so. Chad, I'll let you go. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. Hey, can you hold on? Can you hold on just a minute after this?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, thank you so much. Go check it out. Go find it on Bandcamp. Find all his stuff. There's a plethora. You will not be disappointed. Everything. You just go buy it. All right. All right. Take care. We'll love you. We'll talk to you soon. Let's hear a track off of the release from Agrabatti. This is Beyond the Sun. doomtombpodcast at gmail.com. That is how to reach us. You can also hear us live, craniumradio.com. The Doom Tomb, Sundays, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Follow us on social media at Doom Tomb Podcast. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Until next time, enjoy yourselves, stay inside, wash your fucking hands, and don't forget to stay heavy.